Alrighty, hey, hi everyone. I'm Harshil. I'm the founder of Dreamno Studios. Just wanted to do a very quick video about building guardrails. So I was working on a project which kind of allows you to uh, chat with your database. And while I was working it, I have been working with a lot of these AI-based products, and I spend a lot of times just building out these systems, which is like writing system prompts, building guardrails, and just wanted to make a very quick video about system prompts and guardrails. So, yep. Firstly, getting to what exactly is a guardrail. Uh, this project, it is a very simple project. The chatting with your database, it allows you to have a conversation with your database, and one of the core features is like building a very good guardrail, and I'll tell you what. So the way this works is it is using Versal's AI SDK, and you have a front end query with like a button or something which triggers a backend API call, and the backend API call works through a AI agent like step workflow, which is somewhere a API. And what happens is kind of that like the API in itself, we build out a guardrail, and once the guardrail gets triggered, it has a boolean sort of workflow where like something is validated or invalidated. So if something is invalidated, it goes to feedback, and then the feedback is returned to the agent, and it goes back to the front end or whatever. And if it is validated, the query runs and like gives response. So yeah, that's the core goal of building a guardrail. What a guardrail does is it allows you to avoid a lot of these unnecessary things, like uh, avoiding a lot of these prompt injections or malicious prompts. So for example, in this project, I will just close this up. If I open up the route.tsx, so what I've done here is there's a system prompt where like you are an expert SQL agent, and like I have a lot of these rules, like what is the context, what are the access capabilities that is allowed, what are the rules, what are the safety guidelines to allow for, and then response time, like how should the conversational workflow look. And then I have two calls being called. One is a schema tool, which right now for the easiness of tutorial is like you have a schema, and like everything asked around the schema in the two series of tools is in conversation to this. And then there is a secondary call which calls a DB, in which we have two things where we get a query, it passes in a query from the top prompt, and then it is executed like db.run.query. So this is the normal workflow, and then what I have added in is a basic guardrail, which is like you have a guardrail here, and what this guardrail does is if I open it up, it's nothing but a function, and it's a very basic method of it. But what it kind of tries to ensure is that the user is never able to run any kind of code which allows the user to be able to do any CRUD operations. Technically not CRUD, but actually CUD, which is create, update, delete kind of operations. So anything that is having keywords, which can be these kind of keywords are forbidden. And what it means is drop, delete, update, insert, alter, truncate, rename, anything like that has been uh, forbidden. The list can go on. I can keep adding in more if I just allow. Uh, yep. So if I allow Super Maven, it will just keep kind of getting in more and more things. And the idea is like basically you can add in a lot of things you want to forbid into the ecosystem, and then you kind of check, map through it, like if there is there any inclusion of the keyword in the DB call to be run, and if it is valid is false, and if it is valid is false, which means it is invalid, it is sent for feedback, and the call is closed off today with the error message that the user input contains info that might trigger database change, and suggestion being like please fix your input to avoid. And if like the validation works, then boom, if the validation is true, there are no error messages, and if it just passes through the current workflow, the DB query is run. So yep, that's a pretty simple workflow to work with guardrails.